Today we're talking about pregnancy and nutrition. You may know her best as the Prenatal Nutritionist on Instagram, but I sat down with registered dietitian Ryann Kipping, and she had so much great information to share. I asked her about morning sickness. People are so often concerned that if you feel so sick and so nauseous, how do you be sure that your baby and your body are getting the nutrients that they need? We also talked about what to look for in a prenatal vitamin. It can be so confusing. There's so many different options out there, but Ryann has clear advice of what to look for and what to avoid. And we also talk about heartburn, something that affects so many people when they're expecting. So that's what we're talking about today. Ryann, I'm so excited to have you here. I know that you have the answers to the questions that so many of my followers have, so I'm excited. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So I'm Ryann. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist, specifically for women who are trying to be pregnant or currently pregnant. And I also help with postpartum and breastfeeding as well, because I'm a certified lactation educator like yourself, right? You're also
I'm a CLC.
right?
I am.
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
So I mainly focus on pregnancy and preconception, but a little bit of breastfeeding help as well. But yeah, I'm happy to answer all the questions about pregnancy related nutrition.
Right. And we were talking before, but I think you probably know best with the frequently asked questions among families who are expecting. And I know we talked right off the bat, morning sickness comes up. It's something as far as from a nutritional standpoint, how can people control these symptoms?
Yeah, so morning sickness is definitely one of the biggest questions I get because it's hard. You feel like during that first trimester, you can't eat anything. You're just kind of struggling to get through it. And many women come to me saying like, oh my gosh, Ryann, like I can't eat anything. How is the baby getting any nutrition? Like how is anything getting to the baby? How are they growing? All of this stuff. And my answer to that is kind of number one, our bodies are amazing, right? They kind of,
Right.
they know what to do. Granted that during the preconception period, you were making really good nutrition choices because that preconception period, and this is kind of always my plug into like why the preconception period is so important.
Okay.
Because we want to build up those nutrient stores prior to being pregnant so that in that first trimester, when you do have that nausea happening and you really can't eat anything but like crackers and
Right.
cereal.
Lifesavers.
Yeah, like plain noodles, things that,
Right.
sit well when you're nauseous, that are not like super nutritious, but they're still
Right.
calories. You're kind of freaking out. But if you did the work ahead of time and you were really diligent about your nutrition and those nutrient stores are good to go, your body's kind of just relying on those and like pulling all those nutrients from the stores you built up and like pushing those to baby as much as possible.
Okay. That makes total sense.
Yeah, that's why during the preconception period, it's important. But if you are struggling with morning sickness right now and you're like, I just can't keep anything down, there are a lot of things you can try. And what I always say is that there are so many things. So just try them all, like try
And
whatever.
trial and error. That's what I say all the time about newborns. So it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, right? Because some things work for some people and some don't work at all. Like some ginger is a really common recommendation, like plain ginger tea or the little ginger candies, or even just using ginger while you're cooking. That's a really common recommendation, but that doesn't work for everyone. Vitamin B6, so foods high in vitamin B6 is something that I recommend a lot because I'm a very food first type dietitian. So I'm like, let's utilize food as much as we can. And then if that's not working, then that's when we kind of look at supplements, would it make sense to try a supplement, all those types of things.
When somebody's looking for something that's high in vitamin B6, what are your here, these are the ones, this is the things to do, to eat?
Bananas are normally one that is well tolerated and that are high in B6. Pistachios are great too.
Oh, okay.
Chicken is good, but chicken is not really something that you want to eat when you're nauseous.
Right.
So,
I know a pistachio kind of felt easy. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Pistachios, bananas, those are both good things.
And chicken. Okay.
And chicken. So what I usually say is like, okay, if you can tolerate carbs first, like you can eat the plain cereal, like the Cheerios or, whatever it is. And then after that, you're feeling a little bit better and you can follow it up with some protein. That's going to be optimal. So you definitely want to fit in protein whenever you can. And whenever your morning sickness hits, for some people and a lot of my clients, they're really like, their morning sickness is like consistent, which is nice.
Right.
Because we can
Oh,
plan
it's
it.
same time every day.
Same
See,
time
for a
every
lot of
day.
people, they're like, why is it even called morning sickness? Every night I feel disgusting. Or
Exactly. So if that's the case and you're like every night, you know that your morning sickness hits at night, then we can plan for it. And we can be like, okay, if that's the case, then in the morning, like for breakfast, let's really maximize that time. Let's plan out our meals, make sure we're like front loading essentially
Yes.
calories and nutrients and all those things. That way, when the nighttime comes and you're like, oh my God, I can't eat anything, you're fine because we already kind of fit in everything ahead of time. Of course, we still want you to eat something and like try to get something in.
Right. But you're not as concerned about it. That's
Exactly.
makes total sense. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the next symptom that many pregnant people battle with is heartburn. What can happen?
Yeah. So heartburn is usually more common in the later stages of pregnancy, you know, because the baby's growing and like pushing on all your organs and like moving things around. But that's not to say it doesn't happen in the first trimester too.
Right. Because I remember a stage being like, what is heartburn? And then you're like, once you have it, you're like, there's no question. Like, why'd they named it that?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I have a client who's like, I never had heartburn before and I didn't really understand it. She's like, but now I totally get it. It's like this burning sensation.
Right.
Yeah, which is miserable. But one of the biggest tips I say, and this is kind of not nutrition related, but is walking. Like after you eat a meal, especially at night, don't sit down, especially don't lay down, because it's gravity too, right? If you're like laying down, the acid is coming back up easier. So if anything, you want to sit up straight and work on your posture. But yeah, so definitely go for a walk after each meal, even if it's like walking around your house, like literally for like 10 minutes, walking around your house. That's going to get like your digestion going.
Okay.
Sitting up straight, like not lying down for at least like an hour after your meals is great.
Okay.
Taking small sips of water instead of like during your meal guzzling a full tall glass of water, just like little small sips. And then trigger foods. That's the biggest thing, is finding what foods trigger it. And that, again, same thing for like morning sickness, going to be different for everyone. Many a times it's acidic foods like tomatoes, but also things like chocolate, unfortunately. Caffeine's a common culprit. But then there's some like totally random things. Like I've had people say like eggs make them have heartburn, which is really random. So kind of figuring out what your trigger food is like key.
Right. And it's probably the same, because I deal with it on the other side where people are like, when I eat these foods, it makes my baby really fussy. And I'm like, okay, well, babies are a little bit crazy anyway. So eat it again and see if the same thing happens again. Don't, you know, some people are like, Cool Ranch Doritos. I'm like, I don't know if Cool Ranch Doritos make your baby. So eat them again. That's probably not even in your book. Cool Ranch Doritos, probably not.
but yeah, a food journal is like one of the things, right? So like keeping a food journal, writing down what you eat, writing if you have any symptoms. That's one like sure way to identify what is causing it.
Right. Okay. That makes total sense. Okay. So for the last, one of you had said, and I know it's a big question among people I talk to, prenatal vitamins. What do we need to know? What's like a waste of money? What are we looking for?
Yeah. So this is definitely, if not my most common question, but if not the most common question I get, which makes sense, is what I always say, because when we go to the doctor or whoever we're seeing for either a preconception visit or during pregnancy, one of the first and probably only things they say about nutrition is to take a prenatal vitamin. So then women are like, okay, and they want to go out and do all the research and pick the best prenatal vitamin, and they get so fixated on it. And I'm like, if more people were to spend that time and energy on the actual food you were eating,
right,
that's the money. Like that's where we need to be spending our money, pun intended there too.
Right, exactly. To actually get those nutrients in food.
Yes. So like I said before, I'm totally food first. So we want to try to be getting as much as we possibly can through food, but pregnancy is a time when our needs are heightened. So it's advisable to take a prenatal vitamin. I have had some clients that are like, I don't want to take anything. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'm glad you came to me, because we're definitely gonna need to be a little more strict diet wise, because it is hard to meet your needs, especially like we just talked about in the first trimester when it's really hard to get foods in. So it can be really challenging, but yeah. Okay. So number one thing I say about prenatal vitamins is to make sure that the one you are taking is third-party tested, because the supplement industry is not well regulated whatsoever. And that's the same thing goes for prenatal vitamins. You would think that like, oh, this is pregnant women and like developing fetuses, like we should be extra regulatory and make extra guidelines. No.
Will it say on there third party tested, or like where would you learn that it was third party tested?
Yeah. So usually on the bottle, they'll have like a stamp. It's either like Consumer Lab or NSF, or it'll say like, like third party tested for purity or something like that. Also, if you're checking out their website, usually if you go to like their About Us or Learn More or something like that kind of tab, when you go under there and kind of read a little bit, it'll say like our products are third party tested. You can always email them. I've done that with so many companies. I've emailed them and been like, I'm not really getting a clear answer on your website. Like, is this third party tested or is it not?
Oh, okay.
Like, I need to
now,
know.
do you recommend ones, like, do you recommend a certain prenatal vitamin, or do you want people to like do this research on their end?
Yeah, so I say this all the time on my Instagram too, and you'll never see me recommend one supplement to the masses because it just doesn't make sense. We're also unique as individuals. We all have different past health histories. I mean, we have different food allergies and sensitivities, and just sometimes people eliminate total food groups. Like it just doesn't make sense that we would all take one type of supplement. And then when you get blood work done, that gives you a huge insight into like, oh, okay, I am deficient in this, then you definitely need a supplement with something of that nature. So yeah, I don't generally just push one supplement to everyone. I do say there are some things you should look for, like the third-party testing. The activated forms of vitamins is something that I recommend. So like folate versus folic acid, and like methylcobalamin for B12. So
how would you know? So I'm like standing in Whole Foods, I'm looking at my options, I find one that says it's third party tested, I flip it over, and like, what am I looking for it to look like?
Yeah, usually the words are like bigger and they have like methyl in front of them. So like folate too, you want it to say folate or like L-methylfolate.
So you want to see methyl?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, methyl is good.
Yeah.
Sometimes the longer words like aren't good, so that's why I just want to clarify.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's definitely confusing. And then the other big thing I say to look for is a supplement with choline. If you follow me on Instagram, I talk about choline a lot.
Yes.
Because it's a nutrient that is not talked about a lot, and your doctor probably didn't mention it to you, but it's been compared to folate and its importance. And we all know folate, right?
Everyone's talking about folic acid. No one's talking about choline. Okay.
Exactly, right? We're all like, oh, pregnancy, nutrition, folic acid. Like that's immediately the thing that comes to your head. But choline is just as important. So we want to look for a supplement that has choline and folate. Like you need folate too, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, and then to mention, if you are having a lot of confusion around this, inside my membership, the Prenatal Nutrition Library, I actually have a detailed note on prenatal vitamins where I go over like the top 10 things to look for in a prenatal vitamin. And then I go through like, I think it's 4 or 5 different brands of supplements. And I talk about like the pros and cons of each. And then there's also a snippet at the bottom that says like who would benefit from taking this supplement. So like if you're a vegetarian or if you know you have low iron.
Oh, so valuable. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So again, still within that note, like it's always best to get individualized guidance catered to you and your needs.
For sure.
But there's a little more guidance in there as to kind of what the heck would a brand be that you would even go for?
So many questions. Yeah, no, for sure. That's
not millions, like billions of supplements on the market. It's crazy.
Oh, I know. And it's hard to make a decision. Okay, this has been so helpful. Can you tell us like where people can follow you on Instagram and all that good stuff?
Yes, you can mainly find me on Instagram. I'm at Prenatal Nutritionist on the gram. Also on TikTok, we were just having a conversation.
Chatting about TikTok. I'm about to make the
TikTok.
move over.
Yes, so TikTok, you can find me as well. I'm at Prenatal Nutritionist there.
Oh my gosh, this has been so valuable. Ryann, thank you so much.
You're welcome.